another tab, that is a development. So development, how it works is you can create a scripts. Like I wanted to create some sort of stored procedures. I wanted to create some of the views. So you can just click on, these are the scripts which it is going to support. So example, I need to write I know SQL. I can just write a SQL code here. Simply, I can call this script into my Azure Data Factory. So you can just close this one. I'm not adding it. So and I wanted to load for any Kusto SQL queries. If you know Kustos, you can use. You see, it is dividing with based on your language. So if you want any Kustos queries, you can write here, Kusto language. So that is the one. So KQL queries we can write, and individually it will create, so that you can come to know that so this is belongs to this. Okay, and also here we can create some folders and we can move it, and all those things we can perform, but going forward I will show. And if you wanted to create any notebook, you see here there is a pillar came with the notebook, and you can write all the notebooks over here step by step. Okay, notebook wise we'll create a notebook, and if you want to create any notebook, you can create those notebooks and you can write step by step. Okay, so how Databricks we are going to write, right? So similar way you are going to write a notebook. So similar way we have a again Apache Spark job definition. Suppose example you have a Apache Spark and you wanted to execute that Apache Spark jobs. But if you want, you can execute it Apache Spark as well. So they have given these options, but based on our requirement, we will use it. So that's how it works. And next one is, so that's it. These are about, if you wanted to import something, you can import from, you have already developed one sample notebook. You can import from that sample data set. Okay, that's how the SQL scripts, everything will work. So thereafter, after creating, we have a integrate section. So integrate section is nothing but it works same like your Azure Data Factory pipelines, how we are going to run it. Okay, let me close all these sessions. I'll just go on to here. Okay, so you see here there is a select an item option we are getting. So currently I don't have any pipelines, so you need to create a pipeline connections. So if you click on in the drop down, so you can import the pipelines. This is one option, and you can browse from gallery. So if you click on here, any of these options, so this will create an open a pipeline. So this will create a pipeline. Okay, so this is just a sample pipelines, right? So if you wanted to create a new pipeline, so you can create a new pipeline, click on new and new pipeline. So this pipeline, I have created one notebook, right? One SQL script. If I wanted to call the notebook, so you have a couple of activities. Okay, so Synapse pipelines are works similar with Azure Data Factory pipelines. So in our yesterday class also I have explained that ADF will work similarly like Synapse, how we are going to write any activity. So we have a couple of activities. Pipeline definition is we will call these activities as a pipeline. Set of activities we call it as a pipelines. Okay, each pipeline having the set of activities. Okay, so you can rename the pipelines. So you can rename the pipelines like sales demo. Okay, so you can write, if you at the moment when I rename it, you see it is changed to sales demo, and thereafter we have the couple of activities over here. If you drill this all these options, each option under couple of options we have. Okay, so there are various options we have which provided by the Synapse, and you no need to learn separately like all these activities. So if you know data factory, you can simply use the particular activities and you can run through this. But in these activities, they provided all, but in real time, we may use only few of the activities in our real time day-to-day activities. Okay. So basically here, now you wanted to run any SQL Server job. Okay. So you can copy this activity and you can just select it, this particular activity, and you need to select the pool. So it's a sample SQL pool. How we are going to identify whether it's a sample pool or it's what is the pool name? So I'll show that. Okay, currently I'll select the sample pool, and if you see here, so it is asking for a stored procedure. Currently I don't have any stored procedures. If you have any stored procedure, you could simply select that particular stored procedure over here. Okay, so SQL pool similarly like your database, how you are going to select your database, right? So similar way SQL pool we will select and we will our stored procedure name. Okay, so both we will select and we will run through those particular scripts. So example, I wanted to run through some scripts. So you can create one linked service in Synapse and you can write some DB name and you can write some query like select star from dbo.sales. So you can write a script and we can run through these scripts. Okay, so this is how the activities inside will work. So I'm going to explain going forward this in detailly how we are going to call all those things. Okay, so this is about the pipeline section. Pipeline section is most of the code what you developed transformation. This section is where you are going to do all the transformations. Okay, and this section is where you are using for all your data orchestration. Whatever the transformation you have done in this section, you are going to do the orchestration for all this, because we need to create a job, right? So without the job, how you are going to execute your notebooks? That is a bit challenging, right? So that is the reason, to run through any kind of code, we need to be created a pipelines to run through all our codes. Okay, so for orchestration perspective, whatever we have, so we are going to run through by using these activities. So this is about the pipelines, and the monitor section is where you are going to monitor your jobs. So whatever you have created a pipeline or your job, you are going to monitor in this section. Okay, so example, you have created some X job. So let's quickly just add one job and we'll just, so if you wanted to add some job for testing purpose, we'll just add one. So I'll give some weight activity. So basically this will give the weight. Okay. So, okay, yeah, that's it. So this one, if you wanted to run, you can run this one. So once you run this one, so this will wait for 1 minute. Okay, this is successful, right? So in the monitor section, so this is a triggered. There are two options here. Triggered means there is a job scheduling. Once in real time, we always do the scheduling. We don't debug anything. Debug means if you are having some code issues and you wanted to test the code, you will go for the debug option. But always you need to create the triggers to run your jobs automatically. Okay, so automatic jobs are triggers through the triggers. We have a trigger options. Okay, so trigger and debug. So trigger will come to trigger pipelines. Let's go to the debug. You see sales demo. I ran one pipeline. If you open this pipeline, you will get to know. I have created one wait activity to show the sample. So it is executed successfully. Okay, whatever the debug pipelines are there, that comes under debug option. Whatever it is triggered automatically through job, it triggers through the job. Okay, so that's how trigger and this one the data process will work. And So I told you, right, SQL pool. I will show you the SQL pool. So earlier we have selected one activity. If you remember, here I have selected one SQL Server stored procedure, and it is asking the pool name. I have selected the sample SQL pool. So that comes from here while configuring our Azure Synapse, right? You see, there is a sample SQL pool. This is for dedicated, and there is a built-in pool. So built-in pool is nothing but your serverless pool. You see, this is a serverless pool, and I have created one dedicated pool. Two I have created now. Okay, so CPU utilization is the this one and DW100C. So I have created it, right? So I'll drop this one. Okay, once a class is completed, I'm going to drop this because this will charge for me the amount. Okay, so that is the reason I'm going to stop, but I'll keep my serverless pool as it is. Okay, so that's how I'm going to do. Otherwise, your amount will increase over here. Okay, so this will show the notification. I will clear everything. Okay. So this is how our SQL pools, and we have one Apache Spark pool. This is one sample Spark pool. You can see that Spark pool over here, the diagnostics. Currently, we did not run anything, right? So that's why all is showing zero, ideal status. Okay. Even the same way, Data Explorer also, we did not run anything, so it will show in the ideal status only. So SQL requests. So we ran couple of SQL statements, you see. So these are all the SQL requests. You can monitor it. So usually, if you take any organization, uh, if you wanted to check what are the queries running in your database, most of the team members don't have production access, right? So to see what are the queries running under your database, you need to ask your DBA team to find out which query is running. So but in Synapse, you can observe what are the queries which you are using and you are run through. All these diagnostics you will get it from here in the SQL request. What are the queries ran? What are the data process ran? Everything you will get to know here. Okay, you can get the queries as well. If you click on more, you will get the name, everything. Okay, so this is very good feature actually they introduced. And same way KQL request. Currently, I did not run any KQL requests, and even though Apache Spark also we did not run through anything. So this data flow debug is something. So we have some pipelines. There is a move and transform. We have a data flows. So this data flows, if you ran, so that will be captured under the data flows debug log. Okay. So no worries. We are going to run through all these things. Okay. So and pipelines. So pipelines is where I have shown, right? So we'll get to know what are the pipelines and trigger runs. So trigger runs is nothing but once you create a triggers, so that trigger will triggers you the data. Okay. So we have a schedule trigger, tumbling window trigger, storage, custom. So these are the types of triggers which are available in the trigger section. Okay. So schedule trigger, tumbling window trigger, and event based triggers. So I'll run through all these triggers. What is the benefit of using these triggers? I'll run through all this because these are very important, because in real time always we need to schedule the jobs, right? So if you take any jobs, any batch jobs or any ETL jobs, you will give some particular schedule timelines, and that particular schedule, this job should be triggered. Okay, we have some upstream jobs, downstream jobs in your projects. So to run through this, we have a automated schedule process. So similar way you are going to schedule the pipeline. Example, let's take this file is generated through some other process. Example, let's take now it is 11:58, right? 12 o'clock this file will be available. So your job should start at 12:15 or 12:10 like that. We will give some buffer time because sometimes it may delay. It may take some 5-6 minutes to generate. So I'll give some buffer time and I will schedule my pipeline so that it will exactly trigger at 10 or 12 o'clock to process the data. Okay. So at that time, so whenever this file is available here, so it will get auto triggered. And similar way tumbling window also there. So tumbling window which we can trigger like periodic basis. So whenever we wanted to run like 2 months, 3 months, in ad hoc basis, you can run through by using the tumbling window. And storage event is something like so whenever the file is, we don't schedule this one. So storage event means, so whenever the file is available, this data should be triggered automatically. The pipeline should trigger automatically. We will, what will happen whenever the file is generated, trigger will fire and it will execute those particular ADF pipeline. So that's how storage event will work. Okay, so custom events, you can customize whatever the, like we may have some customized triggers, right? We may require some customizations. So that's why Microsoft given some customized events to customize your data scheduling process. Okay, so this is about the triggers. And I will run through all this again because to show on live, then only you will get some more idea. And integration runtime. So integration runtimes are very, very important. So we have a self-hosted, we have a Azure, we have Azure SSIS, and Airflows is newly added. Actually, these three are the one where we will use to for the integration runtime. What is integration runtime? So basically, you may get a question that why we need this integration runtimes, all these things. So integration runtime is something like, example, you wanted to access a Oracle DB. So Oracle is an on-prem database, right? So I wanted to access into Azure. So you cannot directly go and access the Oracle DB, right? So it's difficult for you to access. So for that, to access any Oracle based or IBM DB2 or any on-prem SQL DB, you need to create a self-hosted integration runtime to access your local database. Local database means your own servers which are maintained by in your organization on premises. Okay, so those DBs are to connect those DBs to access those databases, you need to create a self-hosted integration runtimes. Okay, and another one is Azure integration runtime. When you create any Azure service instance, by default this will get created. You no need to create manually. This will create by default. So Azure integration runtime to which used to access within the Azure service. Example, I wanted to access any app service. So you could just use this integration runtime to access this app service. Within the Azure level, if you wanted to access any service by using the Azure integration runtimes, you can access those particular services. And Azure SSIS is the one where you can use for the access this SSIS jobs. Okay, so there are some legacy SSIS tool is there. That is also a ETL tool to lift and shift methodology. You can simply plug and play, and you can at one go you can schedule those SSIS jobs in the Azure environment. Okay, by using lift and shift methodology, we can directly access that particular SSIS database, and you can run through the programs. Okay, this is how the integration. Again, this will show how it will works internally. Okay, and connections. Linked connection is nothing but linked services. Example, I wanted to access a SQL Server database outside SQL Server database. I need to create a linked service connection to access those particular databases or that particular service. Okay, so that's how linked connection they given. um, Similarly, like you wanted to connect to your mobile through charger, how you are going to connect? You are going to use some external cable and you will connect to your mobile, right? So similar way to connect these particular data sources, you will definitely use the linked service to make the connection. Okay, and we have a manage section. So manage section, everything you have. Okay, so triggers, integration, runtime, access, credential, and you have a git configuration. Once you develop the pipeline, you could just quickly configure those particular pipeline and you can release through your higher environments. Like you can use the CI/CD as a process, and uh, you can deploy your pipelines from dev to test and test to prod. Okay, so that's how they given these options. Okay, so these are all the git configurations. Okay, so we'll discuss, anyway we discussed about all this. And access controls and credentials, so these are about workspace access, whom we are going to give. So I have created this service principal to access, since I am only the one, so I'm the user for this. And credentials, so you can create some workspace credentials over here and you can access those particular Synapse workspace. Okay, so this is the overall about how the Synapse works. Okay.